Hello, friends. Welcome to my English classroom. Today, we will explain the story Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. We will explain the story line by line. And in my previous video, I have discussed about the background of the author, background of the story, the summary, the theme, and the message of the story. If you have not still watched my video, please go through that video first, then you will go for the explanation. So let's start the explanation. Yeah. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. So, mark the day 10th May. The day was 10th May 1994. It was the inauguration day of the new democracy in South Africa. So, 10th May dawned bright and clear. So, it began. Dawn means began because dawn is the beginning of a morning. So, dawn is the beginning. That's why it began bright and clear. So, it was a bright and clear morning. And for the first few days, I had been, means Nelson Mandela had been pleasantly besieged. He was surrounded by the dignitaries, by you can say, by several important personalities of the world, throughout the world. And the world leaders who were coming to pay their respects. Because after such a long journey, after such a long struggle, they have achieved the freedom. So all the people, all the leaders from the world, throughout the world, they have come to Mandela to pay their respect to him before the inauguration, before the beginning, before the new beginning of South Africa. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So, this inauguration, this beginning, is the largest gathering for South Africa. Never before South Africa had seen such a kind of large gathering because today is the most important and significant day for the South African people. That is the inauguration of a new democratic government. That's why it is the largest gathering on the soil of South Africa, on the country South Africa. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater. As I told you in my last video, that it was held in the amphitheater, sandstone amphitheater in Pretoria, found by the Union Buildings in Pretoria. So it is the venue of the ceremony. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. Now look at the change. For decades, decade signifies 10 years. So for several decades, okay, means for, you can say, for around a century, this had been the seat of white supremacy. The place, the Union Building in Pretoria, was the seat of white supremacy, of the white people, of the white government. But now, what happened? Now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So now there is a kind of topsy-turvy change in this fact. Now it was the site of rainbow gathering of many people, of many colors, many countries. That's why rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. So today is the day of installation of a new government. Okay, so that's why there's a kind of rainbow gathering or of different colors can be seen throughout. So that's the you can say strength of time. Time changes. So the place Union Building, which was the domain of the white people only, now has become the domain of the blacks. So on that day, on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Janani. So on that day, with me was my daughter Janani. But in this line, you might have a question. It was 10th May. Okay, so it is regarded as autumn day. How? As you all know, that May month, the month of May is summer in India. So how can Mandela say it's autumn day? Yeah, it's true because South Africa belongs to the southern hemisphere and we belong to northern hemisphere. So the seasons changes in the southern hemisphere. When it is autumn in southern hemisphere, it is summer in our hemisphere. That's why it is autumn day in South Africa. And he was with his daughter. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. So Mr. De Klerk was the representative of the whites. First he was, but he sworn in as the second deputy president. And then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. So both of them sworn in as first and second deputy president. And when it is my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. So when my turn came, Mandela says, I pledged, means I made a kind of commitment, made a kind of serious promise to the nation, to the country, that I will obey and I will uphold, I will support the constitution and I will devote myself completely for the well-being of this republic, of this democracy and its people. So to the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. So to the assembled guests, assembled means gathered, the people who gathered there. To the gathered guests and the watching world who had been watching Mandela from there. So Mandela said, today, as all of us do by our presence here, so today, on 10th May, by our presence here in this place, we attribute glory, we give glory and honor, respect and hope to the newborn liberty. Liberty means freedom. Now you can see, now liberty is here compared to a newborn baby. Mandela has compared liberty to a baby. Yes, it's true. Because this baby's age is only 10 to 15 days. Because all of you know the history of Africa, South Africa. It got freedom on 27th April 1994. And on 10th May it is only of 15 days old. That's why he said a newborn liberty like a newborn baby. So freedom for them is a kind of newborn baby. And out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. So now the experience, what kind of experience is called here? The experience of the blacks, what they had to go through while they were struggling against the apartheid, against the exploitation of the whites on the basis of the color of their skin. So, after the experience, what is born here? A society of which all humanity will be proud. So now a society has been born out of that experience, an extraordinary human disaster. Disaster means a kind of calamity. Why it's called calamity? Because in this experience, they had to face a very inhuman torture and exploitation up by the whites. That's why it is called a disaster for the humans, disaster of the humanity. And after that, what is born? A society is born. And for that society, the whole humanity will be proud. And we who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. So today we, who were then only outlaws, outlaws means a person who has broken the law, okay, against the law, because that time the only the rule of the whites was there. That's why they were outlaws. They were against the whites. So now today have today been given the rare privilege. Privilege means advantage to be host, to be a host for the guest, to you can say to honor the guest to the nations of the world on our own soils. So the host, we are the host today to you can say honor the guests from several nations, and on our own soil, on our own soil we are today to honor those guests. The time has changed. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. So now today we, here Mandela did not say I, he said we, means he thanked all of them on behalf of the people of the country. The distinguished international guests mean the eminent, the prominent guests from all through the world who has come there to take possession, to take ownership that yes, this is our country also. Means all the victory, all the justice, all the peace and human dignity, all are theirs. They are not other than the countrymen. They also are a part of country. Mandela wants to say that they are also owner to all of these things. The common victory for justice, victory means the win, the triumph for justice, for peace, and for human dignity, human honor. So all these things, as we deserve this, similarly, the people who came here as guests, they also deserve this. They also have the ownership to all these things. So now you can see how much emotional Mandela got while he was delivering the speech. That's why you can see various moral lessons also. You will surely get motivated after learning the lesson. So please pay attention while I'm explaining. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. So at last, at length, after such struggle, after much struggle, we have attained our political emancipation. What is emancipation? Emancipation means freedom, to be set free from legal, social, or political restrictions that was there before the independence. So now we are free to do anything. We are politically, socially, and individually we are free. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. So today we pledge, again we take a pledge, we promise to our country, to myself, to ourselves, that we will liberate our people from the bondage, continuing bondage. What is bondage? Slavery, the state of being a slave. What kind of bondage here referred here? Poverty, because they were poor. Deprivation, they were deprived of everything, even to cast their vote. They could not cast their vote before the liberty, before the freedom. Suffering, they had great misery, they had to suffer a lot. Gender and other discrimination. So all these things, all the discrimination will not be there. So we have to pledge today. Mandela says, never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. Underline this line, very important for you. So he said that never, never, and never again. He repeated never thrice, only to emphasize his thought that never again in this land, beautiful land, anyone will experience the oppression. What is oppression? a kind of cruel or unjust treatment of the authority during a long time, that is oppression. So no one will experience the oppression one by another. So by another people, anyone, no one will be oppressed from now on. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. So now you can see that human disaster had changed into human achievement. Only due to the disaster, now the achievement came. So they could achieve the glorious, we can say, human achievement only through the human disaster. So the sun shall never set on such a glorious human achievement. So this is the best time. It is the most glorious time for South Africa. That this is the most glorious for the sun also to set. Let freedom reign. Means let freedom rule. So from today, everyone will say, let freedom rule. Not the white rule or not the black rule. Only freedom will rule from today. Because this is a free Africa. God bless Africa. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes. So, after his speech, a few moments later, they all lifted their eyes. They looked up in awe. Awe means a kind of surprise, amazement. They were all amazed to see something. What is it? As a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union buildings. So why were they surprised? Amazed? To see the spectacular array. What is spectacular array? It's a kind of beautiful, eye-catching and impressive display of something. So what display it is? Display of South African jets in the sky, helicopters, the troop carriers. Troop means, the group of soldiers. So the troop carrier, the jet, rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. Mean they had a kind of pattern while they were flying in the sky. That's why it's kind of spectacular array in a design. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. So, what did Mandela say here? That this spectacular array was not only a display of pinpoint precision, pinpoint, very to the point. Precision means accuracy. So, you can see the to the point accuracy of this display and array of the military force. But also, it is a kind of demonstration of the military's loyalty. So, they wanted to show, by these, they wanted to show their loyalty, their honesty to democracy, that they will be loyal to their newborn democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Now there is a new government, so it's a kind of display that they would be loyal to the new government that had been freely and fairly elected through election, where everyone was allowed to cast their vote. That's why fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. So you can read like this. Only moment before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police saluted me and pledged their loyalty. Okay, just leave the sentence in between to clear the meaning. Okay, so they saluted me. The Defence Force, South African Defence Force, the police, everyone saluted Mandela and pledged their loyalty. They also promised to be loyal to the country. Okay, so what they have on their chest? Their chest bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by. Means they were some noted officers of the force, defense force. That's why their chests were bedecked or decorated with the medals and ribbons that they achieved in their bygone days. Okay, so now today also they show their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. So, what is change of time, change of situation, change of predicament? I was not unmindful of the fact means he was mindful of the fact. He clearly remembered the fact actually that not so many years before means before a few years these people, these defense force and police would not have saluted me but arrested me. Okay, because I was a criminal that time. I was an outlaw. And finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. Finally, what they could see? A chevron. Chevron is a kind of V pattern. Okay, so V pattern in the why? By the Impala jets. So by the jets, they could create a V pattern in the sky, and they also left a smoke trail, the trail of smoke, the chain of smoke behind them. Of what color? Of the color black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. Okay, and one color is not mentioned here, that is white. White color is also there in the new South African flag. Now, these colors symbolize something. Okay, you may take it down in your copy that the color black, black symbolizes the people of the nation, the African community, you can say. Then red, red always symbolizes the valor of the national fighters. Here it also symbolizes the bloodshed during the war. It also symbolizes black. Sorry, red. Then green. Green symbolizes the fertility of the land of Africa. Then blue. You know, blue is the color of the ocean. Ocean means the that is endless. You can see. So blue symbolizes the endless possibilities of South Africa. Then gold. Gold symbolizes the mineral wealth that South Africa has. And one is not here, that is the white. So white is always the symbol of peace and innocence, you can say. So here also the same, the symbol of peace and innocence. And in the South African flag, you can see the white color is in a form of Y. Okay, in a color of a stripe of Y. It is a kind of, you can say, alliance or union of between the African and the European culture. So South Africa now, today, is a kind of union of both the culture, the European and the African culture. That's why it is a form of Y. The white color is in the form of Y. Now, the day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Kosi Sikalal Africa and blacks singing Die Stem. So these are the two national anthems that were sung on that day. Okay, to respect both the community. The old anthem of the Republic, Die Stem, that is the old anthem of the Republic. Okay, because the blacks were the, you can say, old inhabitants of Africa. That's why it's the old anthem. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem, they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. So that day, it is said by Mandela that day neither of the group knew, neither the white, neither the black. They knew the lyrics of the anthem. They once despised because the anthem of the whites were not sung before by the blacks, and anthem of the blacks were not sung before by the whites. So they despised, they hated the anthem before, but today they do not hate. So Mandela has a firm belief in his heart that these people who despised these anthems today and from today onwards, they would soon know the words by heart. So they will try to by heart the anthem. This is the kind of belief of Mandela. Now, then on the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed, again a feeling of Mandela expression, with a sense of history. Yes, because this story is completely associated with history. Without history, this story is not possible. So he was overwhelmed. He was strongly emotional, became emotional with a sense of history. What kind of history it is? In the first decade of the 20th century, after a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. Okay, listen carefully. So why he is overwhelmed? Because now you should know first what is Anglo-Boer War. It is the war fought between England and the and African people, South African people. Okay, there were two Anglo-Boer War. First war was fought in the years 1880 and 1881, and second Anglo-Boer War was fought in between 1899 and 1902. Two wars were there. So Mandela says in the first decade of the 20th century, okay, what happened in the first 10 years of the 20th century after the Anglo-Boer War and before his own birth also, means he was born in the year 1918. So before his birth, what happened? The white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up. So the people who belong to the whites, they patched up. They came to good terms. They patched up their differences and they became together and erected a system of racial domination. So why did they patch up? Yes, to erect a system, to you can say start a system. What kind of system? Of racial domination. Domination in respect of race, because they belong to the white race and other people belong to the black race. So they could dominate the blacks by their supremacy against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. Because the dark-skinned peoples in South Africa were very much honest and innocent and gullible. That's why they were easily be dominated by the whites, because whites are always educated and more superior. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies of the world has ever known. So from that time, the new structure has come. What structure? Structure based on race and color of skin, that is the apartheid. So the harshest and most inhuman societies that the world has ever known. Harshest, the most harsh, cruel, you can say. Inhuman means brutal or cruel again. The societies the world has ever known. So world has never known, I think, the most inhuman and most harsh society other than this society, means society of South Africa. It was the harshest and inhuman society. And now mark the difference in the first decade and the last decade. In the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. So now look at this reverse mode of the time. What happened here? In the last decade of this century, and when I am in my 8th decade, okay, means I am around 80 years of age, the system is overturned, now reversed. Take a reverse gear and replaced all that things, all that I can say exploitations and everything. And what is there? And that recognize the rights and freedoms of peoples. All the people's rights and freedoms are recognized by this time and by this government, regardless of the color of their skin. We do not take care of the color of the skin. We do not bother about the color of the skin. All the people are same to this government. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. So now you might think, how did the change come? There might be some reason, na? Oh no, this is not so easy as you think. It came after around 80 or 90 years in the first decade and last decades. So the day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. So all the people, the blacks, they sacrificed many things, their lives also, for this change, whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. So how they suffered, how they show their courage to, you can say, to win over the whites, to win for their right. We cannot count that suffering and that courage and sacrifice. We cannot repay. We cannot repay that courage and sacrifice. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. So I felt what I felt that day, as I have on so many other days. What I felt that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots. So when I went to jail, actually behind the bars, I was not alone. I was also one of those patriots who had gone before me. So who showed me the path to freedom. Okay, that long and noble line ended and now began again with me. Now, long and noble line. Why it's called noble? Because the people who preceded this journey before Mandela, they are very much noble personality. They started this journey. That's why this is called long and noble line. Now it has come to an end and begin again with me. Why it's begun again with me? Because now a new thing has started. Now a newborn liberty is here. It is born, newly born. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. So it's very simple and natural that Nelson Mandela was pained that he could not show them or could not thank them that what their sacrifices had worked, for what it has, I can say, it has brought to the country, because their sacrifices brought the freedom, the long cherished freedom of the South African people. That's why Mandela was pained to not to be able to thank them for their unconditional sacrifice for the country. The policy of apartheid. So you came to know before. I told you what is apartheid. It is the discrimination of people on the basis of color of skin. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. Yes, it's true. Anyone, if you are discriminated on the basis of your some unique quality, because to be black it's a kind of quality, it's a physical attribute. So if you are discriminated on the basis of your uniform quality, you will also be pained. You will also have some wound in your heart that how can they discriminate on the basis of my quality. Okay, so it was a kind of lasting wound, a long wound in the heart of the countrymen and my people. And all of us will spend many years also, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. And it will take time for us to recover from this disease, from this apartheid system. Means from this apartheid theory, not the system, theory. How they discriminated us on the basis of our skin color. This profound hurt, the very great and intense wound we have in our hearts. Okay. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect. And that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sissolas, the Chief Luthulis, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fisters, the Robert Sobukes of our time. So these are the freedom fighters. You can get to know from history. You can ask your assistant teacher for getting to know about these people. So these are the people who fought for the nation, for the freedom from this apartheid system. So what did the apartheid bring? Yes, it at first brought the wound, okay, and again some positive thing that it has brought. What? The people of some, I can say, unimaginable characteristics and quality and attributes. The people's name are here, okay. The men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom and generosity that their like may never be known again. They are such men of extraordinary courage, not ordinary, extraordinary courage, wisdom, knowledge, generosity, the kindness that you cannot find again these kind of people in our country. That's why they are the gems of our country. Now, this line, this is highlighted. You can note it down, very important. Underline this line. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. Okay, how you can say real it is that if there was no oppression, not only oppression, the depth of oppression. So, the more the oppression is deep, the more the height of the character increases. Means the character's height, the character's quality increases. If you face much problems in life and then you get the success, you will become a kind of a person of good characteristic attributes. And if you get success without having any problems and troubles, means your character is not molded properly. So that's why you can say here the depth of oppression by the whites, it created such heights of the character in them, in the people, in the freedom fighters. And my country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath the soil. But I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Very important it is that the country's greatest, you can say, gems and greatest wealth is not the gems and mineral that is underneath or beneath the soil in the underground, but a country's greatest wealth is its human resource, means the people of the country. The same thing is told by Mandela that my country's minerals and gems are underneath the soil. But we have the true, purest diamonds where with us, the people, the human beings. They are the real wealth for the country. Without them, nothing was possible. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Now, comrades meaning, what is the meaning of comrades? Means the companions, the friends you can see here, companions in the same struggle. So, in the same struggle, we had the companions in the struggle, and from them I learned the meaning of courage. If they were not there, I would not be able to show much courage to go behind the birds and to be a kind of traitor to the whites. Now, time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. So, for many times, I have seen there are many people, many men and women, they sacrifice themselves for an idea. What is the idea here? The idea of freeing themselves, liberating themselves from the policy of apartheid. That is the idea. Now I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. Means I have seen men, the people who stand up, who withstand the attacks, stand up against the attacks of the whites and torture of the whites without breaking. Means they did not break themselves. They did not break their heart, break their courage. They showed the strength and resilience. Resilience means what? It's a kind of ability to deal with any kind of problem and hardship and recover from the effect. Today you are tortured, you will not break down. You will recover like the phoenix. You know, phoenix is a bird that comes out from its ashes. Similarly, they also came out from their ashes and again they were prepared for the next torture, and that defies the imagination. And this kind of torture, strength, their resilience, you cannot imagine. Means your imagination power cannot imagine this kind of strength, characteristic strength. Means it defies the imagination, it disobeys the imagination. You cannot imagine such kind of characteristic strength that they showed. I learned that. Now the most important line, underline this. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. So, what I said? Courage was not the absence of fear. If you don't fear, it does not mean it is courage. You are courageous. If you can triumph over fear, if you can get victory, if you win fear, means you are courageous. Now, you can see many people, your friends also, that They always say, I am not afraid of anything. Even I am not afraid of ghost. You can do one thing with them. Just take him to the graveyard, and I can assure you that that will be his or her last graveyard visit. He or she will not be able to visit the graveyard, okay, at night itself. So it's the only example. Means I want to say that every human being has fear in their heart. If one says I don't have any fear, means the person is lying. Okay, same as if a person says I don't say a lie. Okay, I never spoke a lie, or I never told a lie, means this is the this is the lie that has been added to his lying history. Okay, so same thing is happening here. So fear is there for every human being, but if you have to triumph over it, you have to get victory over it. Okay, because one thing, every human beings, the most you can say every human being, there is a thing that they are most afraid of, that is fear itself. We are afraid of fear itself. If we that get victory over that fear, being afraid of that fear, okay, then we will be courageous. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. It is explained here. So who is called a brave man? Who is called a courageous man? He who does not feel afraid. We cannot say that a person who does not feel afraid is a brave man. We can say only when the man conquers that fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. Means, you can underline this line, very important. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or background, or religion. Now you can see a newborn baby. You can see the baby when it was in the womb of the mother. Now we cannot send message to that baby, giving some instructions that are whom to hate and whom to love. No, because the people, when the baby come to the world, the people, the society give some kind of guidelines, whom to love and whom to hate. That is called the prejudice, and for this we are loved and we are hated accordingly. So no one is born hating another person because of the color of skin, background, and religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Very easy it is. So in a relation, when the relationship builds, when it starts, when you are familiar to any person, means we are familiar only due to some attachment with the person, due to some liking with the person, we match some likings, due to the love with the person. So basically what comes to us first? Love. That is the basic feeling or emotion that we have. But when we have hate, the opposite of love, means hate or hatred comes much later than love. So they can be taught to love very easily than to hate. Okay, because love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. It is clear. Because now Mandela has given an example how it comes naturally. Even the person who hates you sometimes show love. You can also see examples around you. Okay, even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second. But it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. This is the example. So while he was in jail with his companions or comrades, in the grimmest time, grim means the most horrible time, means they were tortured very much that time. And his comrades were also pushed to their limits, means they were pushed to the last point of their ability to bear pain. They could not bear pain much. At that time also, Mandela would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. He could see a kind of glimpse. Glimpse means, a short look, you can say. A glimpse, like a glimpse of light. So here it is called glimpse of humanity in one of the guards of the jail. Perhaps just for a second. It is for a second. But even in the midst of that hatred, it came. Means love is superior than hatred. But it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. From that time, I was reassured by that man's behavior, that man's, you can say, the glimmer of humanity, that this is the love that all people have in their hearts. So we should keep going. We should not stop our struggle. Because man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden. So here also is a flame, means is a flame like the in the gods, in the god of the jail. So his goodness is also a flame that was hidden only by hatred. His hatred could not, or you can say, did not keep that thing out, or expose the love for the people in the jail. But it was never extinguished. It never ceased to burn. It was there inside his heart. That's why sometimes, occasionally, it gives a kind of glimpse of humanity. So, a flame is compared to the goodness of man or the humanity of the man. So, that's all for today. This is the part 1 and part 2 of your lesson, and then in my next video we will deal with the third part or the last part of the lesson. So thank you very much.